looking at opening the chest and just creating a bit of space in the spine. So if you just make sure you have a blanket of some sort, it doesn't have to be a huge one, just something that you can roll up or fold up. So we can start with it underneath the upper back. So it just has to be big enough to cover the width of your mat. So see how the back's feeling this morning. Mine's a little bit stiff, so I'm not going to go super tight with the roll. I've actually got it folded instead. But if you wanted to go for something a bit stronger, then you could roll your blanket up and pop it across the mat. So, you know, it's first thing in the morning. We're not that warm in the body yet, so you could just fold it up if you want to go gently this morning. And so once you have it ready to go, we're just going to lay down, lifting the hips up, tucking the tailbone to lengthen the lower spine, and then just placing that blanket or placing yourself over the blanket so it's into the back of your rib cage. So a good guide to see if it's in the right place is just to lay your arm out at shoulder height and then use your other hand to fold the blanket up, and it should just nestle underneath the armpit and kind of wrap around you. So where the towel would sit, you know, if you wrap a towel around your body after coming out of the shower. And then we're taking the head down onto the floor, taking the arms slightly out away from the sides of the body. And then just allowing the chest and the heart space to open. So you might have the arms straight out at shoulder height. You might decide that that's a bit too strong and you want the hands placed on the belly or the chest. So that is the more mild option. Or you might catch hold of opposite elbow and just let the arms rest up overhead. Or even let the arms stretch away behind you. So wherever you are, you're just making sure that it's a position that you're comfortable to be in for a few minutes as we start our practice. Now we're just allowing the eyes to close. Allowing a little gap between upper and lower teeth. Finding softness in the face. And then just feeling the back of the body settle down into your blanket and into your mat. Once you find stillness in the body, starting to direct the breath. So you're breathing a little higher in your body, breathing up into the chest so we can start lengthening the muscles across the chest. Breathing in, feeling that expansion. Breathing out, finding that release down into your mat, into your blanket. We're just giving ourselves this time to arrive on the mat. Start turning the focus inwards. Turning the focus to our body and to our breath. And as we are unable to go out and about that much. I'm looking at opening the front of the body and engaging or strengthening the back of the body to help alleviate any back pain, any stiffness in the spine caused by long hours sitting at home. So give yourself 3 more breaths just as you are. And then at the end of that third exhale, we're joining the soles of the feet together and just letting the knees open out to the sides. So we're really starting to open through the front of the pelvis as well as the chest. Just letting gravity do the work here for you, allowing everything to melt down into your mat. Tuning into a slow, steady breath in through the nose and perhaps back out through the nose. And then we'll just start to move the legs a little bit. So we're just going to close that left leg towards the right leg. So the right leg stays where it is. That left leg is just sort of going to float almost on top of it. And then we're going to open that left leg back out, soles of the feet touching, and then bring that right leg to hover over the left leg. And then just keep that movement going side to side. Inhale, exhale. Almost like a window wiper movement. And then the next time your legs go to the right, roll yourself off of your blanket, off of your roll, and just curl up on the right side of your body for a moment. We just want to give ourselves a deep breath there. And then press into your left hand. Bring yourself up just enough to slide that blanket out. Slide that blanket out from underneath you, and then just bring yourself back down onto the mat with the back flat to the floor, the soles of the feet grounded, and the arms resting at the sides of your body. So we start with a neutral spine and neutral pelvis. The ankles are down underneath the knees. So that means we need a little bit of air space in the back of the knee joint. So don't pull your feet right in. Quite often in yoga, we hear that cue, reach your fingertips down to your toes. And actually that means we're really closing the knee joint and putting a lot of pressure on the knees when we lift the hips up. So kind of step the feet a little bit further away from you. And it's always hard to judge kind of where the body is in space when we kind of can't see exactly where the feet are placed. But see how it feels in your knees. And once you start to lift and lower the hips, you'll know whether the feet are in the right spot or if you need to move them a little bit. So let's start off by curling the tailbone underneath, by pressing into the feet and just lifting the hips a few inches away from the floor. So staying a little bit lower. And then you can decide whether you need to wriggle the feet further away from you or bring them closer in towards you. So generally, if you feel pressure in the knees, the heels are too close. And if the hamstrings start to cramp or feel like they're loaded, doing too much work, then you take the feet closer towards you. We're just taking another breath with the hips lifted. And then slowly roll back down. So placing the space between the shoulder blades, back of the rib cage, and then lower back down onto the floor. Releasing, taking a deep breath in at the bottom. Exhale, curl the tailbone, press into the feet, and start lifting the hips up away from the mat, and maybe a little bit higher this time. Taking a breath in at the top. And as you exhale, rolling down, lower middle, upper back. Breathing in, breathing out, pressing into the feet, peeling up. Hips coming up nice and high. Breathe up into your chest and then rolling back down. So if in the mornings you wake up and the back is feeling a little bit stiff, this is a really nice one to get the blood flowing and to help release a bit of that tightness. But you want to start small and move slowly. So the hips don't have to lift up very high. In fact, you might just lift them, a few inches up and down and roll a few times over the spine until it feels a little bit looser, a little bit warmer. So just go through a few more in your own time. And you'll notice when we are working on opening the front of the body, creating space in the front of the body, we're actually engaging the back of the body to do that. So if you think about our day-to-day posture, quite often we are contracting, tightening, shortening the muscles in the front of the body, and the muscles in the back of the body are overstretching. So deeper muscles in our back, our glutes. So we'll go through one more roll. Next time your hips are lifted, just keep them there. Think about the connection down through your feet. So you feel all four corners of each foot on the floor, firmly on the floor. Backs of the legs are energized, arms are relaxed. Take another inhale there at the top. And as you exhale, rolling down nice and slowly, upper, middle, lower back onto the floor. And then let's draw the knees up into the chest. And just give yourself a little bit of a rock and a roll there to help release the back. So maybe a little side to side, a little rocking motion. Maybe a little circle motion. Doing a few circles one way and then doing a few circles the other way. And then take your hands into the backs of the knees. Again, if the spine is a little bit stiff this morning, just roll over to the side of your body. Otherwise, give yourself a couple of rolls along the length of your spine. From the shoulder blades to the sit bones. And then we'll come all the way over onto the hands and the knees. So if you would like a blanket to pad up the knees, if you're on a slightly harder surface like a wooden floor, if you're outside, then just use a blanket to pad them up a little bit and give yourself enough space ahead of you so that you can stretch the arms all the way forward. And we're going to take the knees directly underneath the hips, and we're going to keep them there as we move into our puppy pose and a Hatasana. So slide the hands forward, take a breath in as you're reaching, and then as you exhale, pull the tummy in and mount the forehead down towards the floor. So some of you might feel comfortable keeping the elbows lifted, but if it's locking into the elbow joints, place the elbows down onto the floor, interlace the hands, and you still get that sensation, that opening in the chest, but without locking into the arm joints. And then taking time here to really tune into your breathing rhythm. Breathing in and out through the nose. And tuning into the sound of your breath. Bit by bit, the heart space starts to melt a little bit closer to the ground. And if you feel like your face is getting a little bit squished because your chest is a bit closer to the mat anyway, then you might be happier coming onto your chin. But we don't do that, at the expense of our neck. It's only if it feels like the natural uh, progression. We've got one more deep breath here. And then you might lift the head just an inch away from the floor, look forward, and start sliding through onto your tummy. And if you're using a blanket underneath the knees, just shuffle your body back until that blanket is underneath your hip bones instead. And then forearms are on the mat, and you can still have the hands interlaced if you prefer. We're in our Sphinx pose. So we're pushing the floor away to lift the chest. At the same time, pulling the elbows back in towards the hips. And just finding as much length in the body as you can. Imagine then that you're almost trying to drag your chest through the arms, creating space between each vertebrae in your spine. Long body from the crown of the head down to the tips of the toes. And those with a sensitive lower back might have to gently engage through the glutes. And we're all lifting that lower belly gently up towards the spine. Give yourself 2 more deep breaths here. So really about building strength in the back of the body and all of those postural muscles that hold us. When those muscles are strong, it makes it easier to stand tall. And then we're just going to lower down onto the front of the body. So we can slide the hands back, and then we're going to move up and back into our child's pose. So taking the knees nice and wide, sitting the hips to the heels, and then sliding your hands out ahead of you. So just countering the last few minutes worth of heart openers. We start gentle with more passive heart openers, and then we'll work into some more active back bends, some slightly stronger holds. So give yourself a few deep breaths here. And there might be a few of you who are working with some sensitivity around the spine, around the lower back muscles, around the top of the pelvis. And so at any point you have just had enough of a pose or of a certain series of back bends, and just come into your child's pose. It is the counter pose for our back bends. We're going to take one more deep breath here. Inhale and exhale. And then float up onto the hands and the knees. Just shifting the knees back underneath the hips. And then tuck the toes. Lift the knees just away from the floor and come into your downward facing dog. So this pose eventually feels like coming home throughout your yoga practice. So once you've done a set of poses on one leg, one side of the body, then the other side of the body, coming back here just to realign, just to reconnect with your breath. But the first one of the day, we might need to introduce a little bit of movement. So take your time. If you're pedaling out your heels, do it slowly. Really feel where that stretch is going. Think of other ways you could move your body here to give yourself a little bit of release. Moving the hips from side to side, not only to stretch out the waist, but underneath the arm as well. Letting the hips kind of hang to one side and then the other. And then eventually making your way back to center. Deep breath in and out. Start looking forward between the hands. And then float that right leg away from the mat. So slightly different way of doing our three-legged downward dog. We usually look back. This time we're looking forward. We're really feeling that engagement through the back of the body. Engage the glutes. Take another breath in. And then as you exhale, step that right foot up to the right thumb. Help it forward if it doesn't make it all the way there. And then pop that back knee down onto the ground. Letting the hips drop down towards the mat, but without collapsing through your pelvis. So in order to prevent that collapsing, we're pushing down through the big toe joint of that front foot. And then we're going to inhale to lift all the way up into our lunge, floating the arms up to the sky. And then just taking a moment there, so you can see I've pulled my hips back. Again, avoiding being all the way forward here initially, just while we are creating space in the front of the body. So our psoas muscle, the one that connects the spine and the pelvis, so it's a really deep internal muscle, gets very tight from the way we're sitting, shortening the front of the body. So take a couple of breaths there, reaching up through your fingertips. So the pose doesn't stop here, it continues all the way up to the hands. And then let's grab hold of our left wrist. So use the right index finger and thumb, or middle finger and thumb. Reach that left hand up to the sky and then take it into a side stretch towards your right leg. So stretching towards the right side of your mat. We've got one more deep breath here. And then coming back to center, pulling the hips back even more. So you can see shoulders are aligned over the hips, over that back knee. Arms are up. We're breathing into lift, and then breathing out to bend the elbows into a stop sign and to release our pelvis forward into that lunge. Again, without collapsing, lift the pelvic floor. Inhale, take it back, tuck your tailbone. Exhale, come forward, chest open. One more time, breathing in. Keep that pelvic floor lifting as you bring the hips forward, and then frame your front foot. Lift that back knee up, and let's just step it back into downward dog. And again, it's this nice familiar feeling. Coming back to this pose where we know we can close the eyes and we can regulate our breath. And you can even place the knees and come into child's pose. Whenever downward dog doesn't feel restful, whenever your body's craving a little bit of a break, come into child's pose instead. Otherwise, another deep breath there. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we're looking forward between the hands. Start to lift your belly. So we really want to pull that lower belly in. Body weight to the right foot, left leg lifting up. So we're really trying to connect into the back line of the body. Back line of the body engaged is what helps us to open the front of the body. So squeezing that left leg. As you exhale, let's step that foot forward up to that left thumb. Again, help it forward if you need to. And then place that back knee down. So just releasing into your lunge. Again, just a quick check that your ankle is directly underneath your knee. So there's no unnecessary pressure on that front knee. And then nice deep breaths there. And then when you're ready to lift up, we push into that front foot, lifting the arms all the way out and up. And again, the hips are coming back just a little bit. So we can really work on grounding down through that back knee and reaching up through the fingertips. So it can get tiring in the arms. It's easier the more you do it, but really try and keep those arms active. If they're a bit soft and kind of floppy, they weigh you down. So lift and the pose feels a lot lighter, a lot more energized. And we're going to take another deep breath here. And then grab hold of your right wrist. Inhale to reach those fingertips up to the sky. And as you exhale, this time stretching up and over to the left side of your mat, towards that left leg. So again, just creating space in the front of the body. Nice deep breath in. Exhale, coming back to center. Pull the hips back even more and tuck your tailbone. So you can see how far back behind my ankle this front knee comes when I align my shoulders over the hips. So we're all the way back. Arms raising up, inhaling to lift high. Exhale, bend the arms to stop sign. We're pulling those elbows back and then we're dropping the hips into that full lunge. Inhale, come back, lift. Tuck the tailbone, lift your pelvic floor. Exhale, coming forward into that lunge, Anjaneyasana, heart opener. Last time, breathing in. As you breathe out, moving the hips forward, framing that front foot. We're lifting that back knee and stepping it back, downward dog. And then you can shake the legs out, you can move the body. And then just come back to the breath. So anything we do with the arms lifted up overhead is going to make us feel a little bit breathless. So we just want to regulate that heart and regulate the breathing rhythm. And come back to this lovely stillness, familiarity of our downward dog. So give yourself one final deep breath. And then let's take our time walking the feet up to the top of the mat. Coming all the way forward, bending the knees, and just taking a little bit of a sway from side to side. So maybe holding opposite elbow and just letting the head move from side to side, the hips sway for a little bit. Stretching out the backs of the legs. And then we're going to release the fingertips down to the floor. Bend the knees even more. Start to roll yourself up to standing. Restacking lower, middle, upper back. Hook your thumbs and then reach the arms forward and up. So you lift the chest, reach the arms back behind you, and then we exhale to bend the knees, swing the arms back, interlacing the hands, and coming into a shoulder stretch. We're breathing in here, knee soft, body weight to the balls of the feet. Exhale, fingertips down onto the floor. Pick the right foot up, step it to the back of your mat. Just be careful if you have a blanket there. And then exhale your knee down. Lift up into your lunge. Raise the arms up. Hook your thumbs. So we use this grip to help keep the arms straight, but also give us something to pull against to slide the shoulder blades down the back. Just like we did before, we're going to inhale to lift and pull the hips back. Exhale, come forward into the lunge. Inhale, coming back, tuck the tailbone. Exhale, release forward. One more time, breathing in, breathing out. Release the hands down around that front foot. Step it back, downward facing dog. And then we're going to float forward into our plank. Exhale the knees down, lower chest and chin. Ashtanga Namaskar, hips stay nice and high. Keep the hands where they are. slide through into a baby cobra. So that might be front ribs down, hands just there to help give you a little more lift in the chest, or it might be front ribs lifted, depending on how it feels for your spine. As you exhale, move it back into your downward facing dog. We're here for one breath. You might like to breathe in through the nose and let it go through the mouth. And then take a little look forward to your right thumb and step right foot up to that right thumb. Take the back knee down and then raise the arms up, hooking the thumbs and coming into your lunge again. Again, hips slightly drawing back, breathing in, breathing out into that lunge. Release the pelvis forward. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, breathing in, breathing out, framing that front foot, tucking the back toes, and this time stepping to the front of the mat. Feet are hip width apart, bend your knees a little bit, take a sway. Counter pose for the heart opening is the forward fold. And then release the fingertips to the floor. Roll yourself up to standing. At the top, hook the thumbs, raise the arms forward and up. So you might just be standing tall, lifting your chest. So it's really a lift in this upper thoracic. You might also decide to take it into a little back bend. Hips forward, heart lifting up. And then start to bend your knees. We're going to swing the arms back, interlace the hands behind us. Coming into our shoulder stretch, knees bent, body weight to the balls of the feet. Inhaling here. Exhale, take the fingertips down. This time left leg goes all the way back and comes down onto the floor. Inhale, raise the arms forward and up, hook the thumbs. Exhale, come into your lunge and hold. So we're not collapsing. Our tummy's lifted. We're pushing the floor away with that front foot and we're drawing up through the pelvic floor. So very engaged to support the lower back and keep it as much about lengthening as it is about opening the front of the body. Last deep breath here. As you exhale, frame that front foot, step it back, downward dog. Inhale from there into your plank. As you exhale, knees, chest, chin, lower down, hips lifted. Keeping the hands where they are as you come through into your cobra, so it might be low, medium, or a little higher. Exhale back, downward dog. And we take a nice full breath here. Inhale, maybe exhale through the mouth. Bend the knees, look forward to left hand. Step that left foot forward. Drop that back knee down. Inhale, raise the arms, hook the thumbs. And then exhale, release your hips forward into that lunge. So the best way to increase our flexibility in a certain part of the body is to do it towards the end of our range of motion, not at the end, towards the end, but from a place of strength and stability. So we're not here collapsing and hanging out into the joints. It should feel like you're working the muscles in your body. Hands reaching up, even the glutes, buttocks of that right leg should be engaged. Nice deep breath. Exhale, release the hands around that front foot. Step to the front of the mat and fold. We're going to hook the thumbs. And this time we're going to swing the arms forward and up, lifting the chest. And exhale, come back into your shoulder stretch. Counter with this shoulder stretch, this forward fold, knees soft. If you are working with slightly straighter legs, Keep a micro bend in the knees and tip the body weight to the balls of the feet. That way we keep the hips stacked more or less over the knees and ankles. Let's take an exhale, release those fingertips down to the floor. This time step the right leg back again and keep that back knee lifted. We're going to inhale, come on up into our crescent lunge. So nice deep bend into that front knee, but without taking the knee forward to the ankle. Hook the thumbs, lower the arms down for a moment, and just roll your shoulders back. Pull the tummy in, and then when you're ready, arms straight, float them forward, up, and only taking them back if you can keep these front ribs pulling down and in. Nice deep breath there. As you exhale, frame your front foot, place that back knee down. So we're gonna do a little bit of work lifting that back foot away from the floor. So if you're not using a blanket but you'd like to put one in there, feel free to grab one, fold it up, pad that right knee up quite well. We're gonna ground that right hand down just underneath the shoulder and bring the left hand onto the left thigh. We want to leave the knee alone as much as possible. So taking the hand back a little bit and just roll that top shoulder back. Couple of breaths there. And then we're going to tuck the back toes underneath. Keep dropping the hips down towards the floor. And then using your hamstrings, so using the muscles in the back of that thigh, we're going to pull the heel towards the buttock. You can point the toes and then keep breathing there. So hips dropping down towards the floor. Might feel like a really strong stretch in the front of that right hip and right thigh. If you want to, you can reach that left arm back. If it's within reach and it doesn't irritate your knee, you can go for the foot. If it doesn't feel good for the knee joint, leave this out. Don't even attempt this. So again, we never want to sacrifice the body for the pose. We want to sacrifice the pose for the body. We want to make that pose work for our body. It could be just reaching the fingertips back. If you have the foot, carefully let it go. We're all going to release those toes to the floor and then place that left hand down. Heel toe that left foot back in between the hands. Lift that back knee. Step into your downward dog. Nice deep breath. Inhale, coming forward into your plank. Lower knees, chest and chin, Ashtanga Namaskar, hips in the air. And then slide through onto the belly into your cobra. Nice deep breath. And then release down, taking your left forearm underneath the face. So left forearm becomes your pillow. Pubic bone is still releasing into the floor. And we're going to bend our right knee. Reach back with the right hand and take hold of either the ankle, the top of the foot, or up near the toes. So if you need a little bit more space in the knee joint, grabbing near the toes seems to help. That's what I find gives me the most space in the knee. And you don't even have to work on drawing the heel towards the buttock. You might just push the pubic bone down into the floor. So pushing pubic bone and hip bones down should be enough just to give you that little bit of a stretch into the quad. And then take a couple of breaths here. Slowly releasing that right leg, taking the hands back underneath your shoulders. Bring yourself up and hips back to heels into your child's pose just for a moment, just to find a gentle counter. So you might keep the knees a little wider and stretch the arms forward, or you might choose to take the arms back to the sides of the body. And then just breathing here. Breathing up into the muscles in the back. There's always that moment of fragility, that moment when the spine feels a little bit delicate after we've asked it to move in a different way. We don't backbend naturally in the course of our day. It has to be a conscious decision to extend the spine. Naturally, we round forward. So give yourself one last deep breath here. And then sending the arms out in front of you. Come up onto hands and knees and into your downward facing dog. And then we'll finish this side. We're going to set that right foot forward between the hands. Come all the way up, crescent lunge. Breathe in here, breathe out. And then as you exhale, frame that front foot. Step to the top of the mat. Bend the knees. Hook your thumbs. Pull the tummy in. We're going to swing the arms forward and up. Little back bend at the top maybe. And then exhale, bend the knees. Swing them back, shoulder stretch. Inhale here. Exhale, fingertips down. This time left leg goes to the back of the mat. We keep that back knee lifted. We're inhaling up, crescent lunge. Again, we're going to hook our thumbs. We're going to keep these front ribs pulling in, so containing the front ribs, and then let the arms move back a little more if we can. So very good for our shoulder mobility. But again, we don't want to be hanging out into our joints. We want the sense of lift and lightness in the body. Inhale here. As you exhale, frame that front foot. Pop that back knee down onto your mat or onto a blanket. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of work with these quad muscles here. So you can start by heel toeing your right foot just out to the edge of your mat. Still on the mat, but just outside your right hand. Left hand comes down, and then we're just taking right hand onto the right thigh. And you might just look over that top shoulder. From here, we're going to tuck those back toes. Keep releasing your hips down. That gives us a little more sensation into this left side. And then we're going to start to lift the foot away from the floor and point the toes up. So again, you may not go any further. We're using the muscles. So we use these, contract the hamstrings, not only to draw the heel in, but to open the quads even more. It's the antagonistic muscle. When the hamstrings contract, the quads have to release. Maybe that top arm reaches back. Maybe you can locate the foot. You don't have to draw the foot in towards your bum. You can actually press it into the hand and let your hips drop. Again, wherever you are, don't sacrifice the knee or any other part of the body just to get into the pose that's being demonstrated. Work out how you can modify it for your body with any of those modifications I've offered. Last deep breath. We're going to carefully release those left toes back down onto the floor. Heel toe that right foot back in between your hands. Lift the back knee. Step back, downward dog. Nice deep breath. And then floating forward into your plank. As you exhale, let's take knees, chest, chin. So this is Ashtanga Namaskar. It's different to Chaturanga and half Chaturanga. Inhale, slide through Cobra. And as you exhale, release down onto the front of the body. Right forearm coming in front of the face. So that right forearm becomes your pillow. Pubic bone presses down into the floor, so legs are active, tummy lifting. And we're bending that left knee, reaching back, taking hold of the foot, the ankle, or the toes. And you can draw the heel towards the buttock, but actually the more effective release is pushing the pubic bone down into the floor. And we just feel that stretch, perhaps into the quads, perhaps the front of the pelvis. Any pain around the knee, try pushing the foot into the hand and the pubic bone to the floor instead. So we keep a little space in the back of the knee. Last deep breath. And then slowly release that foot back behind you. Take the hands underneath your shoulders and let's move up and back slowly into our child's pose. You might want to round your spine, take it into a cat stretch for a moment, and then slowly releasing down. And then nice deep breaths there. And it is possible that, the spine and the lower back feel a little bit fragile, feel a little bit sensitive after this heart opening. Again, we are, trying to mobilize the joints of the spine, mobilize the vertebrae, and move them in a different way than we normally do. So take a couple of breaths here, just find that release. And then let's come back up slowly into downward dog. Lifting the knees, taking a full breath here. Inhale, exhale. And then we're finishing this side, left foot stepping forward to the front of the mat, coming up into your crescent lunge. Inhale as you raise the arms up. Exhale, frame that front foot and step to the top of the mat. We're going to bend the knees, hook the thumbs, inhale, stretch the arms forward and up. Exhale, swing the arms back behind you, shoulder stretch here. Knees soft, this should start to feel really familiar. Bend the knees even deeper now. Hamstrings might feel warmer, but let's really focus on releasing the lower back. Releasing the hands down. Slightly different this time. Let's take an inhale, take a halfway lift. As you exhale, place the hands down. Walk, step, or jump back into your plank. And then lower all the way down onto the front of your body. If you had a blanket for underneath the knees, feel free to use it underneath the hips instead this time. And for those who would like to, we'll work on our Dhanurasana, our wheel pose. So this is our peak pose this morning. So what we've been warming the body up for, doing all that prep, opening the quads and opening the chest. If you'd like an alternative, if you'd like something else, you can come back to this quad stretch, forehead resting down, pulling one heel in towards you. So this is part of our prep for wheel anyway, so it's a really nice stretch to do. And you can take it one step further by lifting the head up away from the floor. So this is like your mini half wheel. So you can do it here and then change sides and pull the other foot in. If you'd like to join me for full wheel, we'll do it 3 times. So I always find that 3 is a bit like the magic number. So we can kind of warm the body up, create that brain to body connection on the first 2 rounds, and then 3rd round we're nice and warm and familiar with that pose. So we're going to start by bending the knees, pushing the pubic bone down into the floor and feeling the knees lift away from the mat. So if you're doing one side at a time, do your right side while we do our first round. We're going to reach the hands back, grab the feet at the same time. So it might mean taking the knees wider to grab the feet. Again, holding near the toes gives you more space for the knee joints. And then bring the thighs back, not all the way together, but parallel. And then it's in the power of the legs. So we push the feet into the hands. Think knees off the floor, toes up to the ceiling, and then you can take your gaze forward. Make sure you're breathing. Heart is open, really engaging the back of the body, the glutes, lifting internally. And then exhale, releasing down, make a pillow for your forehead and window wiper the knees from side to side. Extending the legs out, shaking out your hips. And then finding stillness, taking 2 deep breaths there. Setting up for round 2. So if you did your right side before, do your left side now. I'm going to bend the knees, pubic bone pressing to the floor, so my legs are already lifting away from the mat. And this time we're going to take from the inside of the foot, inside edge, big toe joint side. So thumbs underneath the feet, fingers on top of the feet. Slightly different rotation in the shoulders. Again, drive the feet into the hands. That should lift the head, the chest up. And then think about lifting the toes up to the sky. Breathing here for 3, for 2, and 1. Releasing down, making a pillow, shaking out your hips. And again, at any time you need to come back into child's pose, please do. So if you have had enough of the heart opening, as energizing and freeing as it is, I'm aware it is hard work and some backs are a little more sensitive than others. So feel free to come back into child's pose now and we'll meet you there after this final round. So final round, bending the knees, taking hold of the feet. So again, maybe from the outside edges of the feet, internal shoulder rotation. You can try and take the hands a little lower if you'd like to experiment. And then pushing the feet into the hands, lifting the chest, breathing here. Again for 3. Heart open for 2. Last breath in. As you exhale, release down. Take the hands underneath your shoulders, rock out your hips side to side. And then slowly peel the front of the body up. We're going to pause on the hands and knees, coming up onto the fingertips and rounding the spine. So it might feel like your body's a little bit stuck. And usually after a couple of breaths, rounding into our counter pose feels pretty good in the spine. Ease the hips back towards the heels. Stay on the fingertips, pushing the hands forward and down and really flexing, rounding your spine. Pull your tummy in gently. And then slowly release into that full Balasana, full child's pose. And here, starting to slow down your breath. If you want to, take a little sway side to side, moving the hips. Slowing the breath down, exhalations longer than inhalations. And then rolling yourself all the way up to sitting. Just sitting the hips over to the side, removing your blanket from underneath you and popping it down, ready for underneath your head. For Shavasana, if you have a bolster or pillow off the bed or some other cushion that you can use for underneath the knees, it's really nice to help settle the spine after a back bending session. So use something just to help release your back, something underneath the knees. And then when you lie down, just make sure that blanket's pulled right into the neck and shoulders. And we're just going to start by drawing the knees into the chest, taking the knees wide and reaching the hands down for the ankles. So flattening the back into the earth, into the ground. Releasing lower, middle, and upper back. And then use the hands to draw the knees back together. Give yourself one more little rock and roll on the spine. And then keep the right knee into your chest. Extend that left leg out along the mat. And then extend the right leg out. Position your bolster so it's really supporting the legs. More importantly, helping to release your lower back down towards the ground. Legs might stay out wide, or you might join the soles of the feet together in a softer diamond shape. Savasana, your final relaxation. Use this time to close down the eyes and come back to your breath. Making a conscious effort to slow the breathing down, but also to find softness in your body. Softening the muscles around the jaw, neck, and chest. Relaxing the eyes and the forehead. And feeling the back of your body melting down into your supports. Allowing the whole body to release down. Muscles relaxed. Joints soft. Bones heavy. We're really trying to calm down that inner energy. Making that switch to relaxation mode so we finish with a sense of space, calm, and ease in the body. Every exhale, imagining, feeling the body melting down into the ground. Whole body relaxed. And just allowing the awareness to trickle back up to the surface. Back into the body, arms and legs, hands and feet, fingers and toes. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. And in your own time, your own way, inviting a little bit of movement back into the body. You might need a big stretch, or you might need just another moment to be still. Just do whatever your body needs, whatever your body is craving. And then take an easy roll over to the side of your body. Breathing in here. Exhale completely. And then easing yourself up to a comfortable seat with the eyes closed. Taking a breath in to raise the arms up. Drawing the palms together. Exhale to lower the hands down just in front of the heart center. Another breath here. And this time exhaling the head down to the heart. Sealing your practice with this gesture of gratitude. Gratitude for the practice itself, for your wonderfully capable body, and to yourself for taking time to step onto your mat this morning. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thank you, guys.